Friends, my name is Kim, I'm the Artistic Adult, and today we're at Universal's Islands of Adventure. I am autistic and was only recently diagnosed, but I've been dealing with it my entire life. So trust me when I say that Islands of Adventure is the most intense and difficult theme park for me to do, despite it being one of my favorites. So come along as I go on a full tour throughout the entire park and show off all the little places I have found that make this park manageable and enjoyable for me.
To start off our tour, we're going to make our way through Port of Entry, the gateway to the rest of Islands of Adventure. It is deceptively calm here, not really giving away how intense the rest of the park is. The shops that litter Port of Entry are a great place to duck in to seek shelter from the crowds, and the music isn't as loud there compared to the rest of the park, which is always a great thing. There's a total game changer in first aid, as there's a totally quiet room that's available and has 2 locations, with the smaller one at the front of the park. The rest of the land is just as calming. The music is softer than the other land, and it is one of my favorite soundtracks to listen to when I get overwhelmed. However, before we get moving to the other lands, there is a spot here that is relatively quieter from the rest of the park.
The waterfront area here in the Port of Entry is a great place to take a breather after you are done walking around the park. The music is relatively quieter and there aren't a lot of people that come up here. However, it is a good place for smokers, so I would advise that you be careful at where you stand and to make sure you're not downwind of it. So advice I can give you is to start Islands of Adventure off counterclockwise. The more quieter experiences lie on this side of the park. So today we are starting off at Seuss Landing, which is the kids area of the park, which actually means that the music is quieter here, well, relatively to the rest of the park, and there's not a lot of people except when they're trying to get to Hogsmeade. So I advise you to come here in mid-morning so you can avoid the worst of the crowds.
Seuss Landing, as I said before, is very kid-oriented, so the land isn't as intense as the other lands. The music, colors, and rides are much tamer in comparison to the rest of the park, while also having multiple ways of traversing the land. The path I recommend you take is the Zach's Bypass, which takes you by the waterfront. It's relatively quieter here, and almost no one uses it after the early morning scramble to Hagrid's or Velocicoaster. It offers beautiful views, and I love coming to this place to listen to the ambiance in this area. The overall ambience of the area is only added by the high-in-the-sky Seuss Trolley train ride that passes over the waterfront area. It is one of the tamest rides at the park, and the only real big thrill factor is the fact that you are a little bit off the ground, but the scenery and the ongoing narration throughout the attraction helps take your mind off the fact that you're around maybe 15 feet in the air, give or take. now, we need to say goodbye to Seuss Landing and head for the next land, the Lost Continent.
So here we are at our next stop, the Lost Continent. This is a very well themed land. It is astonishing at what they did here and it is an original land. There's no IP here, it is just this mysterious lost place. Unfortunately, all of the attractions here have long since closed, but fortunately for us, that means the areas in front of the attractions are actually free game to just step away from the crowds and just take your time and relax here.
As you walk through the marketplace section of the Lost Continent, which is located near the back of the land, is that the second first aid location is actually right back there and is right across from the kebab stand. And it has its own quiet room and is actually the larger location of the two. So if you do need it, it is there. And right back across from the first aid location is our next location on our tour.
Their quiet place. So behind me is the former show building for the 8th Voyage of Sinbad. It was an epic stunt spectacular show and I think it got discontinued around COVID. But the music is cut off here. You only get the vestiges of the main area from across the way. And occasionally you get the heckling of the magic fountain heckling someone. This is one of the quietest areas here at Islands of Adventure. And it's probably going to go away soon. But for now, I think we should just enjoy it while it lasts. Just another reminder, this is also a good place for smokers, so please try not to stand downwind of them. This whole area is still open, despite there's nothing in here and part of it is blocked off, but it's still open, which means it's a good place to come when you need to get away. There is no one here.
The last stop in Lost Continent lies near Mythos Restaurant, which is one of the only 2 full-service restaurants at Islands of Adventure. There's a pathway near the entrance of the land that leads you to the waterfront right in front of the restaurant. The music is severely muted here, and since there are diners sitting outside, chatter is quiet and low, making this an ideal spot to stop and take a breather. Alright, next up on our tour is Hogsmeade Station, outside Hogsmeade. I love this station as it is quiet here and more in nature, which helps me as I tend to calm down more in natural environments.
The Wizarding World of Harry Potter is one of the most crowded places here at Universal, but it is actually one of my favorite places here. It has been a major part of my childhood because I have read the books and seen the films, and it is a calming influence for me despite how crowded it is. And here's a good tip that a place of good nostalgia for you, whether it's like Hogwarts or Hogsmeade or Jurassic Park, for something that holds a calming influence of nostalgia in you. It helps deal with the crowds. It helps deal with the crowds, the suffocating presence of it, and it helps me despite how crowded it can get, because I am instantly transported away from the crowds and into a place of my childhood. Right now we are in the Wizarding World of Harry Potter Hogsmeade. Right behind me is Velocicoaster, and despite that, this is a very quiet place where you can just get away from the crowd. There are going to be patrons here, but they keep it down a little bit because, well, it's right on the waterfront. And it is very quiet, very peaceful, and out of the crowds, which I think is one of the best things about these places that they all have in common. Relatively, it is quieter than the rest of the park, and the only real noise you'll get besides your fellow patrons is Velocicoaster.
After saying goodbye to Hogsmeade, we head for Jurassic Park and make our way to the Discovery Center. The upstairs section of the Discovery Center is the seating area for the Burger Dick's quick service, and is a great place to sit down as it's never really crowded, and it has lots of seating, and the music is very muted up there.
Downstairs is a great place where you can just run around and play, no matter what age you are. There are a ton of interactive exhibits that help you get out all that excess energy, and it is a good place for you to just run around. The running water aspect helps me. I calm down a lot, especially when I hear like a waterfall, when I hear running water, and there is a lot of running water here that makes it easy for me to concentrate, for me to de-stress from the crowds.
The Amber Caves are one of my favorite places, even when I was a little kid, since my mom would take me here when the crowds would get crazy. It is so dark and dank in there with the mist effects, but it's so cool in there, and it's a great way to get away from the heat. And no one actually goes in there. There's actually very few people, which makes it a great place to get away from the crowds. So after we leave the caves and Camp Jurassic, our next stop is Toon Lagoon.
This ride may seem family friendly, but I can assure you it is more intense than you think it is. It is loud, it is noisy, and that drop is insane. And you will get absolutely soaked.
Normally, outdoor restaurant seating is where you get the most quiet places in the park. However, the outdoor seating for Blondies is right next door to Ripsaw Falls, which is so loud that it ruins any quiet you would normally get there. The Popeye area is normally my favorite area to visit since it takes you to the waterfront area, but unfortunately the whole area is under renovation. However, it does, normally when it does operate, it has this really cool kids area on board the ship located on the waterfront as well. After leaving the wacky world of Toon Lagoon, we head to my least favorite area of the whole park, Marvel Superhero Island. It is the most intense land of this park. The music is deafening, the colors are way too vibrant, and despite two of my favorite attractions being here, I usually don't ride them because I can't stand in the line which takes me through the land. This land, I feel, will trigger some people, but there is a spot where you can find some refuge.
So, like almost every area of the park, Marvel Superhero Island also has its own waterfront area, but I think this one is kind of the worst out of all the areas, mainly because the waterfront area is right next to the Incredible Hulk, and not to mention Dr. Doom's Fearfall is right across the way, and I can hear it going off, so this is not the most
Unfortunately, after I left the island, my travel buddy noticed I was about to lose it. So they took me to first aid, and I cannot state enough how much of a game changer the quiet room is. It is so quiet, but not sterile, and has accommodations for guests both big and small. I feel that this is something all theme parks should have, and I'm grateful someone at Universal thought of it and went with it.
So that brings us to the end of today's video. I hope some of what I have shown you and have said helps you. And if it has, please comment down below. And please subscribe to my channel if you liked what you've seen and wish to see more of it. And hit that like button to show me that you did indeed like my video. So I hope to see you again, and as always, keep exploring, my friends. I'll see you next time.